Hi all, it's Emily Rand with ESPN ESPORTS, and I am happy to be joined by 100 Thieves Poome after their recent victory. And you guys, I believe this locks you into 7th place, right, in the playoffs?
Yeah.
So congratulations. Since you have started with the team, you guys were kind of on an upward trajectory where even some of your losses were really, really close. So I guess just describe the main team's progression since you joined.
I mean, I think we've been working really hard to improve at what we do wrong. I think in scrims usually we show a lot of improvement, but it's a bit like the thing that's hard is showing that consistency in match day because it's only a best of one. So you basically only have one shot to just like prove that you improved on what you worked on. So sometimes it doesn't work, like for sure. Sometimes there's just some things that fails or some bad habits that come up. So I think we've been doing really good, and when we win really, really, really hard. So it's just about changing the losses and making sure that the loss becomes the wins that we usually do.
Speaking of best of one, sometimes you really luck out in draft, and I would say today you did. So were you surprised that they gave you so many? I don't want to necessarily say comfort picks, but I feel like you guys really had a specific idea for this draft, and there was no opposition. So were you surprised that you ended up with the draft that you did?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we expected that first pick either. I don't think we expected Graves as a first pick. Usually they go for like a more traditional like set or volley bear. That's usually what we plan for. So I think that they did give us a lot of like our comfort champs and a lot of like counter matchups. They basically just blind picked champs that we could easily counter. So it was definitely favorable for us. Yeah.
One of the things that happened really early on is, despite the fact this is obviously more of a topside focused draft, I would say, with like the Camille Gallio. You had that TP play in bot lane. When that happens, who is making those calls to just automatically group bot and counter the gank?
It's usually on the solo laners if they see a window, because sometimes like their minion wave is not in the right spot to counter TP, or like they're gonna lose more than they gain if they TP bot. So we usually just say like, oh, we can live here on bot lane. Like that's what we were communicating. Me and Cody were like, oh, we're safe, we're fine. And then they just said like, oh, we can TP. Like, so then we just had to turn. It's just the solo laners I call if they see it.
Okay. And then in other interviews, you've talked a lot about the fact that you want 100 Thieves to have a lot of really early proactivity. I know Contracts has also said the same thing since he started with you and you guys made your roster swaps. So how would you like rate 100 Thieves early game right now, and like how proactive you've been able to be?
I mean, I think it depends on our draft. I think if we have like really drafted like is advantageous for us, I think we're really proactive early. And if we have a draft that like we're comfortable on, then we're really proactive early. But if we're on some stuff that usually we don't really practice or we don't really play much, then I think we lack a bit of like proactivity and we let the enemy take the lead usually because we just don't find the same angles or we just don't see the same angles that we see when we're on champs that like we practice and that we play a lot. So I think it really it really depends on our draft, I think.
How are you going to try to I mean, it's not necessarily something you have to fix, but like how are you going to prepare for playoffs and try to keep that in mind?
I think in best of fives it's probably going to be easier because you
Mhm.
can I mean you have swap sides, so there's different prio on different sides. So I think in best of fives it's probably going to be easier to like do that stuff. And not best of ones, because in best of ones you can basically like pick any champ you want and like surprise the opponent with like a surprise pick. So in best of five it's probably going to be easier to do that.
And then for you specifically, what do you think you have brought to the team as a player since you started playing on the main roster?
Um, I think I've brought like a bit of stability, at least for the team. I think it's like I'm usually really vocal in game when we're ahead and stuff. I like to plan stuff with the team. I mean, I'd like to think I'm also pretty good at like setting up stuff for my team. So
Mhm.
I think that's what I've been bringing for my teammates.
And then I know you've spoken about this in other interviews, but how would you rate like 100 Thieves at the beginning of the year? One of their main focuses was like, we really want to develop young talent. We want to bring them up from amateur to academy to pro. And you're obviously the easiest example of that. How would you rate their whole system with Next, academy, and the main roster?
I mean, I think the system is insanely good. I think like at least when I was an amateur, like we have a lot of you have a lot of resources when you're an amateur compared to like any other team I was on. So I think it's like insanely good. You get to like speak to like academy coach for like when you're an amateur, you get like basically academy practice because you're like learning from academy coach or like you're playing with like 1v1s with like, the academy players if you want. So I think it's really good, the system.
And with your success, why do you think more teams don't do that?
I think there's a limited pool, I think, of players
Mhm.
for amateur. Like there's not that many players, and I don't think it's pretty risky for orgs to like. I can understand that it's risky for orgs to just like want want to go in amateur because there's not much money involved into it, so it's not like the return from it is good. If it's like you're basically only hoping that you're gonna get like a couple of good players and that you can bring them in on your teams probably because
Mhm.
you're not gonna get like any revenue from it. Um, I think it's a lot of time and effort because amateur is like there's like 5 leagues right now, so basically the players play like 5 or 6 days a week of like match days. Um, and I think like the player lack like there's a lot of like old players that are still in amateur right now, and I don't think orgs basically want to like sign old players that were in academy or were
Mhm.
in LCS. Or no, there's probably none LCS, but academy. And then it's pretty scarce to find like upcoming talent, at least for solo queue. So
So you're one of the lucky ones.
yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. All the best going forward in playoffs this coming week.
Thank
And
you
for
so much.
more, no worries. And for more League of Legends coverage, keep it here on ESPN Esports.